Yo, what is up, everybody? It's Jay the Great. Welcome back to another Naruto reaction video here today. And today we got, more of a fun kind of Swagkage video, and as you can tell by the title, that is 5 underrated Naruto characters. Now, there are many, many characters that I personally think could have, been hyped up more, or maybe even developed further or looked into further. I'm sure there's certain guys that can come to mind for you guys as well. But I'm kind of interested to see what Swag has to say here. And this is more of a fun video, no debates and stuff like that. I'm kind of debated out. I've been debating a lot of people in the Naruto fandom lately. And this is a fun one. Can't wait till what he has to say. But before we begin, any love is greatly appreciated. Hit that like button, turn on bell notifications, stay up to date with yours truly. And if you're new and you enjoy, maybe this is your first time on the channel or you mess with the kid, hit that sub button, man, because once you do, you're part of the family forever. Let's not waste any more time, screen. Let's see what Swag has to say today.
Yo, how's it going, everybody? Swagkage here, and welcome to today's video. There's not much for me to say to preface it. The subject is pretty self-explanatory. It's about Naruto characters that I like, that I wish everybody else liked just a little bit more, but a few things I want to get out of the way before we start. The list isn't in any particular order, so I'm not going to be counting down from 5 up to 1 or anything like that. And obviously, there are going to be some of you who disagree with the choices for this list, who think certain characters would have fitted better. That's fine. I don't think I speak for everybody here, but I've wanted to make a video like this for a long time, because especially in the case of some of the characters on this list, I've never really received any opportunities to talk about why I like them at length, because nobody really gives a shit about them, and they weren't ever relevant to any of the video topics I had before. But today, I'm gonna have myself a bunch of fun talking about all of these relatively obscure characters that nobody's ever paid much attention to, and maybe hopefully changing a few people's minds about them. I think that takes care of everything I wanted to say beforehand, so without further ado, let's just get started. The first character I want to talk about is Dosu. This mummy-looking guy from part 1 worked under
that's OG.
Super dirty. As a matter of
OG
fact,
character
his
for
whole
sure.
Team, I don't think they were done justice at all. Orochimaru used 2 of them as sacrifices for the Edo Tensei, and then Dosu just got fucking murdered by Gaara in his Shukaku form. And it was a really big shame, because I liked Dosu. He was one of my favorite characters, even when I was just a little kid. I always liked this guy. And when he got paired up with Shikamaru in the Chunin exams, I was geeked, because Shikamaru was another one of my favorite characters. I wanted to see these two go at it. Dosu struck me
that would have been pretty
interesting
to see.
Somebody who was incredibly meticulous, who knew when to back off, knew when to approach, and he had a really cool power in the form of his sound waves. His fight against Rock Lee was really cool. He just sort of went to town on him, and at the time that was pretty crazy because we had just seen Lee kick the snot out of Sasuke a couple episodes earlier. Then here comes Dosu treating him like a total bitch. But the problem is,
good memories.
That's the only time you really get to see him fight. He did have another fight against Choji in the Chunin exam preliminary rounds, but that wasn't much of a fight at all. It just consisted of Dosu one-shotting Choji, then walking away. Then, before he could even make it to the final rounds, Gaara killed him basically off-screen. In the end, he and the rest of the Sound Ninja practically amounted to nothing more than jobbers for Sasuke to show off his curse mark power, and that's, like I said, a really big shame. Dosu is easily one of the coolest characters we've ever gotten to see, and it really sucks because I never catch anyone talking about this guy. For numero dos, we have pretty cool. Grandma Tsunade, somebody who isn't quite as obscure as Dosu, but definitely a character that doesn't receive as much praise as I feel she deserves. Seriously, dude, Tsunade's cool as fuck, okay? And it really hurts me knowing that she doesn't get any love just because the other 2 Sannin are so much more popular and are given significantly more screen time as well as significantly more to do than she is. But let me tell you why Tsunade is so awesome, because I used to think she was pretty lame. As a matter of fact, I used to actively dislike her. I couldn't tell you why now, because every time I see her either on panel or on screen, she's doing something really cool. But the point is, I'm very aware that there are people out there who just don't think Tsunade is all that great. So to begin my thesis about why she's so cool, let's take a look at when she was introduced. Now, this was back during part 1, and it's pretty widely accepted throughout the community that part 1 has a much grittier, darker tone than Shippuden does overall. And you could really I agree with that to some extent. Something cynical and grounded. Tsunade was practically the embodiment of this cynicism. You can view a lot of the characters introduced in Naruto as foils to our main character for one reason or another, with the 3 strongest examples up to this point being Haku, Sasuke, and Gaara. And to a certain extent anyway, Tsunade's another example of one. She sort of existed as a living reality check for Naruto. While he was young, naive, and idealistic, she was old, experienced, and very jaded. She took pleasure character in nothing but vices and was bitter through and through because she'd been stripped
Very
of
bitter, I
every
agree.
source of hope and
Yes.
optimism that she'd ever had over the course of her life. And it was just this neat, fresh perspective that the audience hadn't yet seen before. Then after she met Naruto, she went through this really touching character arc where she slowly learned to trust people more, to be more positive, and to just be a better person in general. One of my favorite scenes in the entire manga is when she choke slams these two leaf elders into the wall of the Hokage office for not having enough faith in Naruto, just as a sort of display of how much this kid means to her. Now, I know a lot of people are going to respond to me saying that Tsunade is really cool by pointing out that she got slapped around by Kabuto, and that she like considered
Right.
killing fucking Jiraiya. And these, more so the second one, are valid criticisms of her. You're allowed to dislike her for whatever reason if you want. But I think that both of those things just serve to make her more layered, more human, and it makes her change over time even more satisfying to watch. Then, of course, she's also just a fucking badass. Like, look at this panel right here where she threatens to kill Orochimaru. It looks so sick. She also puts in heavy work in the battle against Madara. And the fact that she's the best medical ninja, like, on the planet gives her extra cool points as well. The third character I want to talk about is Iruka.
So before he gets to the second half of the video, I kind of want to give my 2 cents here on what's going on, what's transpired so far in this video. Now the first guy, the sound guy, I forgot about him. I'm gonna be honest, I forgot about him, but he was very cool to me. You know, going into the tuning exams, you know, Sasuke, Naruto, and Sasuke, and Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke. Sorry, you know, they had their backs against the wall against this guy, and I thought he was very cool. I do agree, and it would have been very interesting to see him face Shikamaru. It's too bad that he died so suddenly and he didn't get much screen time. I would even mind if he became more of a developed character, maybe like another henchman to Orochimaru, you know, similar to Kabuto to some extent. Obviously, he's weaker than Kabuto, we all know that, but maybe like a lower tier henchman. So I thought he was very cool. But obviously, it was all about Gaara at that time. It was all about Rock Lee at the time. It was all about, you know, Sasuke, Neji, and all those guys. But yeah, that's one that I thought it's pretty underrated as far as like the character himself. He's a pretty cool character. Now Tsunade, this is a big one, right? Because obviously she's basically in the entire show up until now, I believe, and even into Boruto, she's still there. Now obviously she was very hyped in part one of Naruto, right? She came in, was this really badass, experienced woman that Jiraiya kept speaking about and talking to Naruto about as they tried to find her. And yeah, I really liked that she developed in part one. Obviously, she like Swag said beautifully. She was a very bitter and worn out kind of person. Like life just wore her out, you know, with all the deaths of her two most precious individuals, with her boyfriend and her little brother. You know, that basically changed her into this kind of old fashioned old person. You know, like those people you see that are like, oh man, I'm just tired of life. Like those kind of people, that's the kind of person she was at that point. And meeting Naruto, this, you know, lively, extremely ambitious individual, really gave her some life again, you know. And obviously, with the battle against Kabuto, which people always give a shit for, she got her ass beat by Kabuto, but yeah. But seeing Naruto really put it all on the line, you know, defending her life and her honor up until the very end, gave her some hope for the future. Maybe reawakened her happiness to some extent. I thought it was really well done. But then I get how she underrated, because after that, she becomes Hokage, and after that, she's kind of just, you know, the messenger to some extent, just sitting in the Hokage's office, giving missions out, and kind of just being there. So I kind of get to the extent of how her hype kind of died down. I'm sure, you know, when Naruto first came out, her hype died down, and she just became, oh, she's a Hokage. That's all she was to us, you know, not much more. And the other battles that ensued later on, you know, with Pain, with you know, with all the big characters, she didn't do much. It was mostly Naruto and Kakashi and all that. And then we got to see her again against Madara. Now I liked how they really honored Tsunade in that fight, and by giving her a lot of time and screen time. You know, I thought she did very well against Madara. Obviously, he destroyed them all. But what my point is, she was one of the better better Kages in that fight. Even being able to crack Madara Susanoo to some extent, very impressive. And she really showed how she's a leader. You know, that speech she gave against Madara was beautiful. And yeah, she's definitely an underrated character. But let's continue moving forward.
And don't
Iruka
click on the video
Sensei.
yet. I know nobody really cares about Iruka, but like, hear me out, please. Really, my love for Iruka just sort of boils down to, yeah, he's a pretty chill dude, and that's all there
Very
really
chill.
is to it. But for those of you who want me to say more, I mean, he's just this crucial part of Naruto's life and
Definitely.
his character growth.
Definitely.
And now this is just a personal thing with me. I don't know if like anybody else is the same way, but just seeing this guy, you know, Iruka, acting as a father figure for this little kid who really doesn't have anybody that he can rely on or trust, it just warms my heart, because whether you're just starting the series or you've gotten all the way to the end, you know that Naruto deserves somebody like this. And the way he practically bent over backwards for the kid, risked his life for him in the first episode and the first chapter of the manga, I mean, it's just impossible for me not to appreciate. Now, I know that this guy has next to no screen time. As a matter of fact, I'm sure he has less screen time than everyone else on this list, Dosu included, and all he ever, like, really does is take a shuriken to the back, then you don't see him again all that much, like, ever. But all of my points still stand. I've always liked Iruka. I think that the series would be a little bit
he's symbolic, a symbolic individual, right?
He's
very symbolic to Naruto.
A little bit more than they do.
Definitely.
Next in line, we have the ultimate trap himself, Haku, who has one of the coolest jutsu in the whole series. One of the coolest designs in the whole series. But I am still a bit confused as to why Kishimoto decided to go the whole, I'm gonna make him look like a really pretty girl even though he's a dude.
That was kind of bizarre.
It's not like he even identifies as a girl. He just flat out says, I'm a dude, despite the fact that Kishimoto made him as effeminate as possible. And he's like self-aware.
I'm not gonna lie, I was confused on his gender for a long time. I'm not even gonna lie.
Than Sakura, so you know, I don't know. I guess it's just funny. Regardless, Haku is a pretty unique character. Not to say that he's like one of a kind and there's nobody else like him in all of fiction, but I think this idea of a kid who worships somebody just because they saved them from a shittier life and views themselves as nothing more than a tool for the person in question, it's just cool. I was actually gonna put Kimimaro on this list alongside Haku, but then I realized that they're practically the same character, and since Haku did it first, he gets the privilege of being included instead of Kimimaro.
Fair enough.
Honorable mentions to Mr. Bone Man. Kimimaro's probably got like my favorite Kage Genkai ever, even despite the fact that it doesn't really make any sense. But anyway, this is
the bones are very
Kimimaro.
cool.
It's
very
about
cool Kage Genkai.
Like I said, his philosophy of owing his life and practically everything he is and has ever achieved to Zabuza is really special, and I think it's always made him a really standout character for me. Not to mention, he's just got a really sick fighting style. He can weave seals with just one of his hands. The crystal ice mirrors are fucking crazy. Zabuza claims that he's stronger than fucking Kakashi is, and Ice Release is without a shadow of a doubt the coolest nature transformation there is. Even putting all that aside, Haku ended up, maybe indirectly, I guess, bringing Zabuza to tears. So no matter what, you've got to at least appreciate him for being capable of doing that. I don't want to start sounding redundant, but I mean, really, everything about him is just really cool. I like the way he speaks, the way he fights, all of his abilities, his backstory, even if it is a bit minimalist and sort of generic. And he's also the centerpiece of a scene that I really like, where Kakashi's about to kill Zabuza with the Raikiri, and Haku's standing still at Naruto's mercy, and just as Naruto gets the resolve to finally kill him, he whooshes over in between Kakashi and Zabuza in the nick of time just to save his master's life. Haku's just responsible for a whole bunch of really cool, really emotional shit in early Naruto. And I know that a lot of people like him quite a bit, but I don't think he gets as much recognition as he deserves. Finally, the last entry on the list is the man puppet,
number one.
Puppet man.
He said it's not in order, but
Sasori of the Red Sand. Probably my favorite member of the Akatsuki, at least next to everybody's favorites, Itachi, Obito, and Pain. But still, Sasori's fucking awesome, okay? A lot of people don't pay much attention to him because
I agree. I really wished he got more screen time, you know?
2, he's a puppet master, and Kankuro kind of sucks, so puppet masters don't really have the best rap. Then 3, he's a self-contained character that's introduced in the same arc as he dies in, so he's not really given a whole lot to do. But I don't care about any of that. Sasori's the man, and let me explain why. All of my reasons for liking Sasori are more or less centered around the cool factor I think he has. I just think that the guy is awesome. Turned himself into a puppet, turned the third Kage into a puppet.
Yeah, that was very cool to see. Very cool.
Controlling up to 100 puppets at once, can administer lethal poisons with ease that have basically no known cures, has a sick design, has an equally awesome voice and overall attitude. I mean, the guy is just really fucking cool. And so many people give him shit for losing to Sakura, but like, look, dude, he didn't lose lose to Sakura? He lost to the team of Sakura and Chio. Chio knew everything about him. Both of them came with an antidote created specifically to counter his poisons.
Definitely.
Chio was in possession of the 10 strongest puppets ever created. Sasori didn't really take the battle all too seriously until the very, very end. And of course, finally, it's heavily implied that he let himself die.
Definitely.
It's not flat out stated that he gave up or anything, but Chio says that he didn't really try as hard as he could have.
Yeah,
to
she stated that herself.
So they threw at him.
Definitely
so
implied.
The idea that Sakura beat him in a one-on-one fight is very, very misinformed.
Definitely.
Plus, I mean, Sakura's not that bad. She's pretty tough, so even if he did lose to her in a fight, it's not like that would be the ultimate L one could receive. Really,
well, low key, but yeah, I know what you're saying. So
super subjective. Either you agree that he gives off this cool vibe, or you don't. I don't think there's much I can say to change your mind about him. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that wraps up the list. I believe
great list, man. A lot of surprising individuals on this list.
Now, I am curious to know what characters you guys think are underrated. As always, leave your responses in the comments below. If you're new here, consider subscribing to get updates.
Shout out to Swag, man. Another great video by him. Another great video.
Great rest of the day. Till my next video, talk to you later. Swagkage out. Bye.
Peace. Alright guys, there you guys have that one. Now I definitely gotta give you guys I'll give you my top 5 underrated. Not in order either, like Swag. Alright. First of all, I want to say great video. And yet surprising individuals on there, like the first one, Haku. I thought they were very cool characters. Now, mine, alright. This is one individual that I think is very underrated. Rock Lee. Now, similar to Tsunade in Part 1 Naruto, he was so hyped, man. I mean, that fight with Gaara was legendary. It was so good, so well done, so iconic in the anime world, period. Not just the Naruto world, anime, period. It was spectacular. You know, the hyping of the inner gates was so well done. It was amazing. He was such a cool dude, a hardworking underdog. You know, that's what he was. He had no ninjutsu, no genjutsu, you know, only taijutsu. So this guy was the underdog of underdogs, and he beautifully was introduced. Now, after Part 1, after he got hurt and all that, he really never really, at least in my opinion, he never really was hyped again, you know, and that's why he's not very talked about, I believe, in the Naruto verse. You know, I feel like he didn't get the rep. He doesn't get the rep that he deserves, and he also didn't get the further character development that he deserves. Now, I think he could have been the next Might Guy, you know? I mean, maybe a display of the 8 inner gates, or maybe not 8 because that would kill him. Or, you know, maybe like the 7th gate. Like, there's a really beautiful showing of him. That's what I liked. That's what I would have liked to see. You know, I wish we could have seen that. But I think he's very underrated. He's still one of my favorite characters, despite, you know, him not getting the hype that he so desperately deserves. You know, at least to my knowledge. Now, he's definitely on my list. And another guy on my list that Swag on his list, Sasori. Now, that's another guy that was severely shortened, you know, as far as his life. You know, his time in the show is severely shortened. I really wish he would have got more screen time. I thought he was so cool, man, especially when he first beat Kankuro. So cool. His abilities are amazing. You know, the puppets, the poison, the attitude. This guy's a badass. I mean, he's chill. You know, he's a chill dude, and him and Deidara had great chemistry, by the way. You know, Deidara being this lively, explosive kind of individual, while Sasori is this chill, you know, this chill, low-tempered kind of guy. It was great. Their chemistry was great, but I really wish we could have seen more. Yes, he lost to Chio and Sakura, but people got to realize, like Swag said, Chio to some extent is his kryptonite. She knows everything of him. She's his grandmother. I mean, shit, and she's a puppet user herself, a legendary one, I might add. You know, and Sakura had the antidote to his poison. I mean, shit, that's the kryptonite, and he still could have won probably if he really wanted to. Let's get that out of the way. I do believe he let himself go at the end. He let himself just be off at the end, you know. But Sasori's definitely up there. Who else would I put up there? Low-key Neji. You know, Neji was really hyped. The #1 recruit in the tuning exams, right? In Part 1 Naruto. The #1 recruit of the tuning exams was bodied his cousin Hinata, and just looked like a badass. I mean, he looked like a complete badass. He similar to Rock Lee, just was kind of there in Shippuden. He was kind of there, you know, not not stealing the show. You know, it's all about Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura and Kakashi, obviously, and Itachi. But I really wish we could have seen him more. I thought he was really a badass, man. It was really sad to see him die, by the way, in the Fourth Great Ninja War. It was sad. So I have him on my list. It's basically similar to Rock Lee's case here. Um, Number 4, let's think. I'm trying to think of all the individuals out there. Maybe, I'm trying to think. Sorry, guys. I should have a list ready, but I'm going off the dome here. I'm going to say, I'm trying to think of a villain this time. I think I've had all. No, Sasori is a villain, excuse me. Maybe Kakazu. I'm just spitballing here. Kakazu. He just getting enough screen time to me, so I'm gonna say Kakazu. Underrated in my opinion. Pretty powerful. Obviously not a top 3 Akatsuki member, but up there. And lastly, maybe the Tsuchikage Onuki. I think he's a true badass. I thought he was awesome with his, with his particle jutsu, particle style. I thought it was really pretty awesome. And he's a legend of the Fourth Great Ninja War. We saw him in the fight against Madara, and then we see him die in Boruto, right? I don't know. I feel like he doesn't get the respect he deserves because that guy is truly spectacular. He just happened to have to face some of the greatest shinobis of all time, like Madara and Obito, and it's a tough gig. It's a tough gig. But yeah, guys, that's my top 5. That was a great list by Swagkage. What's your top 5? Let me know in the comments. What is your most underrated characters? And I'm very curious to hear. But yeah, guys, I did this video because I want to take a break from debating. I've been debating a lot of individuals lately, and I'm debated out. I just want to have fun with this because at the end of the day, that's why I do this for you guys. I appreciate all the support, all the love. And yeah, guys, gonna wrap it up. So this is Jay signing out with another Naruto video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.